So we never think we're good enough. We never think that we matter. And we're always seeking other people's opinions.
Raise your hand if these words resonate with you. Let me be clear. You are good enough, worthy, and valued. Have a listen to this inspirational and emotionally charged episode as Daniel Gomez offers insightful advice on how to unlock your untapped potential in business and in life. His passion is to elevate businesses and entrepreneurs to achieve their true potential, and believes successful people are resourceful and don't make excuses. Instead, say, how can I make this happen? Daniel is an award-winning keynote speaker, business coach, corporate trainer, and international best-selling author of The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. Daniel Gomez, what can I say? This is such an honor for me. I've known you a while and I love everything you do. You are so inspiring, truly. Even the little prayers you say over me, it's very heartwarming, and I'm very happy we could do this together today.
Well, it's such an honor to be on your show, Terry. Like, I'm really excited, and I wore my special shirt just for you today. I've been onto the team, right? We got to dress up a little bit because one of our client specialists, Janae, she's always dressing to the T like you. And I'm like, guys, like we're not looking like millionaires over here, some of us, okay?
Well, I love that shirt, Millionaire Mind. So I think to get to where you are, you have to have kind of a millionaire mind, you know, what it represents, not the word itself. So Daniel, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are sitting there wearing a Millionaire Mind shirt.
If you would have told me last summer, last July 4th, that we were going to have our own offices, we were going to have a team of client specialists, and now we outgrown it in 3 months and we're about to get into a bigger office, I would have never believed it within a year's time. And I think so many times you just got to dream bigger. You got to have a bigger vision. And something that I tell myself all the time to get to where I'm at is touch the dream, feel the dream, smell the dream, touch the vision, get a vision, and chase the vision. And I think so many times in our success, we get complacent because we've never had what we've had. And now we're here, and then we just get comfortable and we never pursue what's next for us. And the truth is, we serve an infinite God who loves us. And the thing is, if he was to give us everything we wanted up front, then it would be too much. We don't have the human capacity to get it all. But I think for me, as I've grown and stretched, it's really, you start thinking and seeing yourself as successful. You start thinking like a millionaire, then you become one. But then when you start thinking like one, even before you become one, you got to start putting yourself in those environments of the vision that you have for where you want to go. And so many people, we just had this one of our coaching sessions this morning. I'm like, why haven't you gone and test drive the car? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, like, well, they make every excuse. They reason with you. I said, look, I didn't say you're going to buy the car today. I said, go touch the dream, go feel the dream, go touch the vision of what you want in the car. But because people don't feel they're good enough for it, or they don't believe it for themselves, right? They believe it, right? Shallow. They believe it shallow level, but they don't really believe it down deep in their core. And for me, what really helped me get to where I'm at is even though I didn't believe it all the way, I would still, I say crazy enough because some stuff that I would go see, right? I was seeing a $2-3 million house when I couldn't even afford it, but I was putting myself in that environment because it's different, right? A $2 million house in San Antonio, let me tell you what it has. You walk in one side of the shower, it has this spa where every part of your body gets hit on your butt and your cheeks and your face. Like there's so many jets coming out of this. And you walk out the other side, I'm like, and that's in a home shower. I'm like, you only see that in a spa, but to see a house like that, now you got the optics in you. Because this is one thing that we don't realize, Terry, is that the human eye takes in over 1 million optics a second. 1 million optics. Imagine that. So it's really seeing yourself where you want to be. And I'm not saying fake it till you make it, but you do. This is the wording I want to give to your audience. You have to start surrounding yourself with your future self. Because if you never surround yourself, want to become who you want to be, do, and have, you're never going to become that person.
That is so true. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up in any kind of environment that could have put me where I am today at all. I had cousins that lived in a wealthy part of Long Island, and I kept seeing them. We lived on the other side of the track, so to speak. But there was a part of me that wanted more. And I kept pushing myself and pushing myself. And never would my younger self have thought I would get to where I am. And I'm wondering, where did you come from? And what put you on this track? Because I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, for sure.
Well, I remember being a kid and I thought it was so cool. We'd go to these grocery stores and we'd have play money. It was colored money, which is food stamps. And I remember I would say, well, mom, we don't got no money. Well, what about, well, give me one of those purple. I remember the fives were purple. The dollar bills were brown. And I think the $10 bills were green. And I think that's all they had was fives and tens that we got. And I would say, well, give me one of those purple $5 bills, mom. But I share this with you because I remember that, and I remember that we would go and we would buy groceries, and then towards the end of the month we were always without milk. We would have to eat cereal with water. And I'm like, well, where's those $5? Like, where's that purple color money? But I remember that because we always did without. And I think for me, when I really started seeing like, man, like we're poor, right? Like we are, and nothing, not that we ever went starving, but the truth is that I remember being in junior high, true story. We got out of football practice. We're out there with the guys, and one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I can't wait to go to Fuddruckers, which is some fancier restaurant than McDonald's over here." He goes, "Man, I can't wait to go to Fuddruckers." He goes, "Man, Daniel, don't you just love the hamburgers at Fuddruckers?" I'd never been to Fuddruckers in my life, Terry. And I said, "You know what? Yeah, they're really good, ain't they?" And I remember after they picked them up and I walked home, I felt this small. I said, I lied about a freaking burger. And something just to myself, I said, I'm never going to lie about food again. I'm never going to lie about food again. And it gave me a desire to have more with my life. And there was a time, of course, that I was lost and getting high and in trouble and just right. I mean, I always went to school and worked, but I think sometimes I just didn't care because I lost my mom at 10 years old. But I think once I really got grounded, I was blessed with an opportunity where I became a horticulturist. And if you don't know what a horticulturist, ladies and gentlemen, I had a green thumb. I had two green thumbs. So next thing you know, I was excelling at what I was doing because we were doing interior horticulturists. So my clients were David Robinson from the Spurs, George Strait, the famous country singer. We're in these mansions inside the Dominion when the Dominion first got built. This was back in 1992, 93. I remember walking in and these ceilings are like 20, 30 feet. And these people have atriums in their house. And like, right, I'm taking all this in, but I never did I realize that God took me into these homes to stretch my imagination. And I think that's when the seed was really planted because I would tell myself, how cool would it be? Really what I was saying is how badass would it be to have a house like this, right? Because like I before the Dominion was a Dominion, the rich neighborhood in San Antonio was called Elm Creek. It's off of Harry Wurzbach in 10. So I remember going and we had some I had some those were some of my clients too that I would go and I would service their interior plants. I remember this one gentleman, I don't know what he did. I said, "You got a tennis court in your backyard?" He goes, "Yeah, you never seen a tennis court?" I said, "Yes, sir, but not in the backyard." But God was just stretching me. I was seeing these houses, and then he would go right, and I'd be like, "Well, where's your refrigerator?" Right? They're like, "Get some water, Daniel. You want some water?" I'm like, "Okay." I would get some water, but I don't see the refrigerator. And they're like, "Daniel, you see that big door right there?" I'm like, "Sir, I see a cabinet." Well, these multi-millionaires, their freaking refrigerators are like it blends in with the cabinetry. So just seeing all these things, it's like the seed was planted when I was 19, 20 years old. And lo and behold, 20 years later, 25 years, actually 25 years later, I just started, it helped me want to have more in life. And just really, when I got into the automotive industry, I think that's when my next level of living happened, where now I could afford pretty much anything I wanted. And I was going on vacation, like not just going to the park for holidays, like we were doing some nice stuff. So I think it was the seed was planted when I was in my younger 20s, Terry, just seeing like these houses, these, and right, they don't have, like some of these houses have suede, that suede is their wall. Like I'm like, what? Like crazy, awesome, cool stuff. Like thank you, God. Thank you, God, for letting me touch the dream even before I didn't even know that was my dream.
Oh gosh, I see it now. You brought so much into perspective because we grew up middle class. We lived in a small apartment in Queens. I went to Forest Hills High School, which was in a very well-to-do neighborhood. I got to mingle with people, and then my relatives who lived in big houses in Great Neck in Long Island, I got all their hand-me-downs. So I always looked great. But I was very kind of ashamed of my house and everything, and went to college and hung out with all these well-to-do people. But here I had this little apartment, which embarrassed me. And when I moved into the city, I lived in Queens, my life changed. I was able to create what I wanted, which I wasn't sure, but I was kind of led to wherever. And
But what happened there was this. You see, you don't realize what's happening because it's
I
happening
don't
to
want to
us at the
cry,
moment.
Daniel. I'm
Yes,
really on the
but
verge.
yes, but think about what you just said. Like I caught it already, right? I was in these mansions at Elm Creek off of Wurzbach. I was in the Dominion with George Strait and with David Robinson. So that was my hand me downs to say, right? You're putting on these clothes, you don't think about it, but every time you put on a certain outfit, your mind was taking all these pictures are being taken.
Right.
The labels that you were seeing on clothing, not every person saw that. So your mind subconsciously was taking all these optics, millions of seconds, and every time you put on your shoes, your clothes, even though they were hand-me-downs, you were wearing stuff and you were putting on clothing attire that no one ever even knew existed, but your mind captured that and it took you there in the future.
I had a lot of obstacles to crawl over, for sure, to get to where I am. I spent many years in analysis 3 times a week. So I grew from that. I was in the fashion industry. I looked good, but I was unhappy on the inside. But it was a place to hide. But, I fit in. I did fashion shows. I was always in the public eye. And I think things changed when I was asked to join Women's Wear Daily, a magazine, to take on a territory. And I never had sales experience. She took me on. I said yes. I could have said no, but I said yes. What could go wrong? They could fire me, but they didn't. And that was what my life became. Because once I got through the 7 years of challenging myself to find my inner self, I think I said, I can do anything after that. And I did. Whatever came along, sure. I did fabulous in sales, fabulous. Money was important to me. It had a very different value back then. And then, I became a coach. Who would have thought in my youth that this is where I would be? And a podcaster.
Well, the
So
thing is, it just shows how flexible and adaptable you are. So many people struggle in life because they want to be so stern, or you try to pour into them and right away they get defensive and they don't want to learn. But what I hear you saying is Terry was flexible, Terry was adaptable, and look where it got you to. Because right, that you know one thing that I've realized in becoming this person that I am today and becoming the millionaire thought process or how I think now, it's like millionaires, and I was just with a billionaire here, Adam Coffey, learned a lot from him. They're resourceful, like successful people, whether at entry level, intermediate level, or the ultimate, right? Whether you're hitting that nine figure, they're resourceful and they don't make excuses. And I think that the difference between a winner and a loser is a loser's going to make excuses all the time, and a winner's going to say, how can I make this happen? They get resourceful. And I think a great example of that, to put it in, okay, what does it look like? Well, just 2 weeks ago, we were in DC. There was a big flood in Houston. We had a team of three that were up there, including myself, and they're like, well, your flights, it ain't gonna make it. I'm like, well, how do we get from DC to San Antonio? Well, you could do X, Y, Z. Like, no, that's not a good option. You can do this option number two. I'm like, no, we're not gonna split everybody up. They go, well, there has to be a way. They go, well, you can go to Tennessee, then go to San Antonio. I said, well, if that's what we got to do to keep us three together, let's do it. And so many people, just simple decision making like that, they don't have the capacity to do that because their flight gets canceled or whatever happens. And instead of, they get mad, and right when you get mad and you get into that destructive mindset, and you lose all awareness and everything that you need to do.
Oh, how I love, nobody can see it, but Daniel has this saying over his head. I know it's about a book, but the world needs to hear your story. I just take that part. And with where you've come from and going from a horticulturist to being a coach and being a entrepreneur and, executive coach, corporate trainer, and certainly a podcaster of the year. How did that story evolve?
By giving myself credit. I think so many people don't give themselves enough credit, and they minimize and they undermine what they do. And I think when I started in automotive as a salesperson, right? I don't want to say I was at the bottom of the barrel, but I was a newbie, worked my way up to first salesman of the year, then repeat salesman of the year. Then I'm making 120,000 in 2003, when now it's like $250,000 in when you're in sales, right? But it's just I was always learning. And then as I challenged myself to become more, and I became a sales manager, and then that was a big leap for me because I actually took a pay cut, but then I learned more. So I think when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, and I really took that step back of, okay, what does Daniel know? When I really assessed who I was and I reflected on Daniel, like, I know how to lead a team. I had 100 employees. I know how to make money because I know how to sell. I know how to team build because we had a pretty good team. I knew how to communicate. I knew how to communicate to people that were above me, below me, and besides me. So I became a 360-degree leader. And I think all these things were like, corporations need this, right? So that's when the corporate kind of mindset started coming. I'm like, I can do this in corporate, right? Because I've been living it. And sometimes when you don't take time to really recognize, like, man, I've been doing all this. You don't give yourself the credit, so you'll never do it. But I said, okay, maybe there's something here. And I think this is the key why so many people don't move forward. This is one of the main keys. They always get stuck in their old identity. They get stuck in their old identity, and they never progress to who God wants them to be in their new season of life. And because they get stuck in their old identity, they get stuck in a season of life that they're no longer supposed to be living. But because they're comfortable, they tolerate that old season of living. And I think for me, I just, no matter how much it hurts, how many wine glasses I've broken, how many recycle bins, I talk about it in my book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. Like, I beat up a recycle bin one day, and I talk about it because I'm proud of it because I didn't hit a wall. I beat up the recycle bin, right? First of all, it helped my foot, it helped my hand, but in business, you get so frustrated because there really is such a true thing as imposter syndrome. And when it comes up, it doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up some days, and you're like, what's going on? So I learned to stop arguing with my wife, with my kids, and I just said, you know what? Let me just go. and beat up the recycle bin, and it is what it is. And right, I didn't hit it over and over. I just kicked it like a couple of times, but needless to say, we needed a new recycle bin.
Words of wisdom. I hope people, when listening, really get that to move forward. And I love that, letting go of an old you or an old thought system, an old mindset, and really shifting gears. And who do you want to become? We're all becoming all the time. I change my look every year. I reinvent myself, I transform, and that's what keeps me going and, changing and transforming. And that's what I hopefully work on with clients, to help transform them, to help them move forward out of where they're stuck. More to come. Don't go away. This episode is brought to you by Try Coaching. As an executive business and communications coach, my only mission is to help clients create positive changes so that they can become the best version of themselves. Stop making excuses. Start making changes by shifting your mindset. What's stopping you from becoming the person you secretly want to become? Reach out and let's start a conversation. You can learn more about me at trycoaching.com.
Well, what you just described, I call it the journey of becoming. It's the journey of becoming. And many people, they get stuck in their journey of becoming because, like you just said, they don't want to let go of the old you. They complain, they tolerate, they murmur, they make excuses. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize last year how comfortable I was in my own success, that like I had to hire a new coach. I had to challenge myself. I had more success than I ever had, right? I mean, I just got complacent. I got lazy. And I really had to really push myself and it wasn't easy because it takes 21 days to form a habit. Start forming a habit, not even form it, start forming a habit. 90 days, it becomes your lifestyle. And now I'm working from home like I've always have, but now I'm taking these naps during the day. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to call people. Like, yeah, we got enough money in the bank, and it is what it is. But now that we have our offices here now, we're about to move into our new office here June 1st. It's like, oh shit, we got more overhead we got to pay, right? Like it's like it's on me, and then it's like, really, okay, how do we build this out? What's the next level? How do we not cause confusion to the team? How can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective? And it really kind of made me think back on my automotive days. And it's like, I know how to do it. I turned that part of my life off for a while. And now it's like, God says, you got to turn it back on.
There's no rest for the weary, if you will. And moving forward, I'm older, and yet I still keep going. I look young and I'm older, and people never even know. And I think part of it is just my soul, if you will, keeps expanding and expanding. And everyone I know is retired, and they look at me like, what's wrong with you?
Well, you know what it is? As a society, we're conditioned to think you hit your 50s, you got gray hair, right? You're on your down curve. Then you hit 60. Now you're really going into cruise control because you're going to retire in 2 or 3 years. And then I always talk about this, right? Because I remember this as a kid, is the great coach Bear Bryant from Alabama. Even before there was Nick Saban, there was Bear Bryant. And I'll never forget, such an amazing winner in life. The moment he retired, he died because he lost his sense of being. He lost his sense of who he was. His identity was in Bear Bryant, and he lost this. I'll give it to you simple, right? Screw your why, screw the purpose. I'm not gonna, right? He lost his reason for waking up in the morning, as simple as that. So maybe you're listening to me and Terry right now, and you don't have a reason to wake up. Well, let me tell you, look in the mirror. You need to wake up for you, first of all. And then if you have kids, well, guess what? You need to wake up for your kids. There's always a reason to wake up. Sometimes, though, when we're so selfish, all we can see is ourselves, Terry. And I think for me, I had to stop being selfish and really realize that there was more people out there in the world that I could help. And there comes a time, right? Yes, you want to practice self-love. I think sometimes I hear a lot of these speakers and coaches say self-love. I think you can get overboard on the self-love, right? I get it. But you got to find that balance where you really love yourself, you respect yourself. Now you're able to take that energy, that power that God gives you, and you're able to pour it into others. And I think that that's where the happiness, that's where the real fulfillment comes, is when you're able to help somebody get over the hump like that.
And creating change for you is you are helping people. Talk about what you're doing to help people, guide people to achieve success, to achieve personal and professional happiness, because that's what you do.
We, we were just talking about this in the morning. It's like, you got to stop giving a crap of what anybody thinks. You got to stop caring about what people think. Think about that. When you really, I would say, Daniel Gomez would say, I don't care what people think, but surface level, yeah, but deep down inside, I cared, right? And there's a hindrance there. There's a cable attached to something that's keeping you from moving forward when you do that, because you're looking around, you're carrying what everybody says, and you're not authentically you. But the moment I really said, you know what, I don't give a crap what anybody says, I don't give a crap what anybody thinks, I'm just going to be Daniel. That's where the freedom came. And I think when you live from that point, not to disrespect anybody, but I'm going to do what I want to do because that's who I am. I think that's when God can bless you and use you, because now you're really allowing yourself to fly and become the human being that you were born to be. And I think so many people that I coach, that I trained, right? The truth is this: if you're a business owner, you're the problem, right? That's you. What's going on with you? And it's so many of us, we lived in a facade for so long that we don't even know who we are, right? Somebody who's been in a marriage for a long time, or you become so much like your partner that sometimes you get lost in your own partner's identity. Or you've been at a job so long, you become, your identity is in that corporate job, and you lose who you are. And my daughter's going through this right now. I told her, she's going through a separation, and I told her, look, I said, don't date nobody. Figure out who the hell is Brittany, right? Who are you? Like, what do you want to do? Do you like to hike? Do you like to fish? You don't even know because you've never given yourself that opportunity. So I think it's really finding out who you are, and that's one thing that I really give people is the ability to really find who they are underneath all the labels of life. Who is that individual that I'm coaching? Who is that individual? And when they realize, like, man, Daniel, this is you're like this in person. I'm like, yeah, because that's just who I am, right? I mean, I was just in Nashville all week last week, and I wore a sports coat one day, but then I'm like, this is my brand. This is who Daniel is. I'm gonna wear jeans. I'm gonna wear my sneakers, and that's who I am, and I'll attract who I'm supposed to attract. And so many people, you try to make yourself be somebody you're not, and it doesn't work that way.
Yes, for sure. And I think we all wrestled with it. I certainly did. You have a strong faith. How do you combine your faith with helping people unlock their potential, if that makes sense to you?
Yes, I think it's everything. I think it gives you a sense of security. It gives you a sense of knowing that, for me, God gave me the idea. If I fall, He might let me cut my knee. He might let me get bruised up to learn a lesson, to get smarter, to learn wisdom. But He's always going to catch me before I go over the edge. Right now, as a matter of fact, right now, I'm making the biggest purchase in my life today. Like, we're in the process. I just came from the bank earlier. If you would have told me, Daniel, you're going to be buying $1 million home, I would have never believed it. We're getting a lake house. We're calling it the Getaway. We're going to have masterminds there. We're going to have writers retreats for our authors. Like, but this was my first inclination of thinking, let's just sell our house and we'll buy the lake house. And my wife says, no, you teach, like, have multiple homes, right? Like, this is what you coach. You're coaching. You're like, bet on yourself. And I'm like, well, God, if this is of you, we'll get approved. And guess what? we got approved without selling our current home. And it's just like, is it scary? Yeah. But I'm not going to allow myself not to live my dream and to stretch myself and become who I'm created to be. But it's because of my faith, right? My faith, not in Daniel, right? It's my faith in God's abilities, not in my abilities. And the best decision I ever made in business, Terry, is this: God first, family second, and business third. And they're like, Daniel, it doesn't make sense. I said, I know it's not supposed to.
Mhm.
I said, but the reason I have that house, it wasn't even on the market, Terry. We were driving by and my wife just said something. And as I kept driving, God said, listen to your wife. I said, hey, it looks like you're getting your house ready to sell. How do you know? I'm like, well, my wife just noticed that you're cleaning up a lot of things. It looks like you're kind of spring cleaning, but not to spring clean, but to sell it. She goes, as a matter of fact, I am. So the opportunist that I am, I said, can we take a peek? And she really hesitated for like 2 minutes. It was a long 2 minutes, let me tell you, kind of awkward. She finally looked up and said, sure, why not? And the rest, as they say in show business, they're on Manhattan, right? We'll be closing on our house here in 2 weeks. And
What a story. What what do you want your legacy to be?
that people really believed that there was a God because they could see it through Daniel. That Daniel was able to help people realize that they were loved, that they mattered, and that they were valuable. It breaks my heart when I travel the world, Terry, and I speak in these different cities, these different countries, and 90% of people undervalue themselves.
Mm.
And helping people really see their true value. Because believe it or not, as adults, many of us, we still see ourselves as the kid we were. So we never think we're good enough. We never think that we matter. And we're always seeking other people's opinions. And if I can leave this planet saying, you know what, Daniel helped me to realize who I was, that I was valuable, that I am worthy and deserving of living in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue on the top. Why not? Those people ain't better. They just think differently. They know how to think in business. But when you realize that you belong there, the lake houses show up, the opportunities show up, everything shows up. But if you don't believe it for yourself, it's never going to show up. But the moment you start believing it for yourself, right? The opportunities show up because your faith believes it. But if you don't believe it, it's never going to show up.
I had a guest and she put this very well when she said, we're in a not good enough pandemic. That most people, I mean, as a coach, and I'm sure you probably see the same thing, the underpinnings in everybody is we're not good enough, we're not valued, we're not worthy. And I think for me, when I work with clients, it's turning their eyes inward to really look at what's going on. Why can't you get from point A to point B? What's the fear? What's the self-fulfilling prophecy that holds you back? And, once they can tap into that, then looking at, yes, I am worthy. Yes, I do deserve something. I think that's what you're saying as well.
So I'll put it this way too. I'll make it easy. Many want the victory outside of their life when they're not even having the victory inside their lives, right? They want the public victories, but they don't have the private victories, and they wonder why that next level of life, that next level of business ain't coming for them. It's because A, you're not winning at home. B, you're not winning because you're not spending time with God, but they want that public victory for the wrong reason. And I think for me, it's really like when I was a young speaker. I'm going on 6.5 years of being a professional speaker now.
Mhm.
At first, I wanted to speak because I wanted to speak. Hey, I'm Daniel, right? Because I wanted the light on Daniel. But I realized this is that always let the light shine brighter in you than the light that's shining on you. When you allow the light to shine in you brighter than the light that's on you, lives are going to be changed when you speak. lives are going to be changed when you coach. Lives are going to be changed in the marketplace. And I think so many of us, we're so eager wanting that light that shines on us to be brighter than anything else. And we wonder why we self implode after 2 or 3 years of success.
So when you say God, God can mean a lot of things for a lot of people, right? I think of the universe. It just seems bigger to me. So we all have a different version of the same thing.
Well, to me, God is infinite, right? God is definitely God. There's only one God. But in God's infinite power, the Bible clearly states that to the Father, to the Son, through Jesus Christ. So for me, my Lord and Savior is Jesus.
Okay.
And I think when I really accepted Christ into my heart, when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, um, it was my second time around the lap with God, right? To say that because my dad, when I was 26, my dad was diagnosed. They gave him actually 3 weeks to live. He lived for a year, and I really truly believe it was God, my faith in God, that gave me another year. And I think through life, when I was really tuned in with God and just having time with Jesus in the mornings and praying, that's when I'm almost at peace, right? Like right now, you were to get, if I was to tell you everything that's going on behind stage, you'd be like, how the heck are you so calm? Because this is what I tell myself in the morning: God's got me and God's got this. And it's as simple as that. But when you don't have that God in your life, when you don't have Jesus in your heart, then you're always worried. You always have anxiety, and you're always trusting in yourself instead of trusting in your creator who can help you.
But not all of us are Christian. So, we wouldn't use Jesus. We would say, for me, I'm Jewish. I definitely believe in the universe. I do believe there's an infinite spirit. So, it's the same thing. I mean, whatever word you give it, it's believing in a higher power that can guide you.
I think so many people trust in themselves, and that's where they tend to cave inward because it can be a lot for a person, especially when you're going through someone who has breast cancer or a sickness or just what happened right in Manhattan in 9/11. Like all these things are, they can be a lot to a person, right? For people commit suicide. But when you know that there is a God that loves you and that He's taking care of you, it just gives you that sense of, for me, it's really the piece of Daniel, go buy that house. We're gonna find a way, and it always works that way. Not until you commit, that's where the next opportunity is gonna show up. Everybody wants the next opportunity, but they don't commit.
This has been amazing. The world needs to hear your story, and you're telling it, by speaking engagements, by working with people, by your books, by just being out there. What is, I mean, you've said so much. What are one or two tidbits or pieces of advice you can leave our audience with?
I would tell your audience this is that when you really put your heart to something, when you really commit, when you're serious and not curious, God's going to show up to help you. But nothing happens until you get serious about what you want to do. And I would say this: once you make that serious commitment, now you got to give yourself patience to know that it's not going to happen through a drive-through. It's not going to happen through a microwave. It's not going to happen instantaneously. That there's going to go a process where you have to be patient with what's going on because you have to become the person that's able to handle that blessing, Terry. And so many people want it before they're ready, and then they wonder why they crumple under pressure. So I say this to your audience: be kind, be patient with yourself. If you need help, reach out to me. I'd love to help you and guide you in any way with business. And as a matter of fact, Terry, I want to give your audience a complimentary discovery session. Y'all send me a direct email to Daniel at danielgomezspeaker.com. That's Daniel at danielgomezspeaker.com and put in Terry Show. And I'll send you the link to set up a complimentary millionaire discovery session and just see how I can help you. Because the truth is, I wouldn't be here without coaches. I wouldn't be here without people who loved me. And we all need help at some point, Terry. We all need help.
I agree. And as a coach, I agree with you also. Daniel, this has been wonderful, as I knew it would be. You're so inspiring. You offer so much information and wisdom for people, practical. If you don't commit, if you don't set your mind to something, it's not going to happen. And it's as simple as that. You have to want something.
Like I think when I committed to hiring our director of operations, Jacob Davis, and then the office showed up, right? We committed to adding another person and our client specialist and Janae. Now we outgrew our office. Once we committed to that, we were like sardines for a couple of months, but now we got a new office. We'll be moving in there June 1st, but it doesn't happen until you commit, and it's hard to do sometimes because people want to see the results before they commit, and unfortunately, in business, it doesn't work that way, Terry.
Daniel Gomez, The Making of a Millionaire Mind. I've loved every moment of it, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your youthful heart, your youthful spirit, your youthful you. Thank you for being an inspiration to me that I know when I'm as young as you, I'm going to be pretty handsome.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for being you. I so appreciate it. I hope this compelling and extraordinary conversation with Daniel Gomez has offered you thoughts on how you can create your own changes by making choices that matter to you. Reviews encourage people to listen to my podcast and lets all the platforms know that this podcast is reputable. Please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. Thank you. For related content on extraordinary work, please visit my website, trycoaching.com. And always remember, when you work with passion and purpose, your work can become extraordinary. Want to find out how to turn your struggles and challenges into wins and growth? You won't want to miss my upcoming episode with Claudia Wyatt, founder of Wyatt Coaching, LLC, as she lets us in on how she inspires others to embrace their inner potential by relating her own struggles and adversities and how she overcame them.